your list of bona fides is too long, so let me just rattle off a couple of my favorites real quick. I first got to know you on Talk Soup, and then, of course, as Charlie Weaver on Friends, Tara Lewis on Criminal Minds. I'm not sure who you play on Whose Line Is It Anyways, but now I certainly love you
Neither
as
do I.
right, as Mickey on Fear the Walking Dead. But today we're going to talk about The Boys Presents Diabolical. You've written the episode Nubian versus Nubian, starring yourself as the Nubian Princess. I'm sorry, as Nubian, and Don Cheadle as Nubian Prince, right? So first, I'd like to know, how did you get the gig? Did Eric or Seth or Evan or somebody reach out to you, or were you just waving your hand saying, "Hey, I'm over here doing the after show"?
So I obviously had a really great opportunity to build a relationship with those guys doing the after show for season 2, which was so fun, and a real blast to kind of dig into the themes behind the live action series a little bit more thoroughly. And then Eric wrote me an email and he's like, "Hey, we're doing this animated show. Do you want to write an episode?" And I mean, it was like an instantaneous yes. So I'm like, yeah, and probably it was an expletive in there. And then they were just like, listen, the road is wide open. Simon Ratchett, with the producer, was like, just pitch us some ideas. And I pitched them a bunch of different stuff, and they responded to this idea. And then I wrote an outline, we kicked it back and forth, and I wrote the episode. So it was really fun for me. I've done a lot of writing, but I've never written an episode of animated television. It was a great experience for me. And also, one of the things I really love about The Boys and the kind of the point of view of The Boys is that it's really about the nexus between, these very human, very flawed, kind of frail people who are struggling to kind of, get their shit together, but have these extraordinary powers, and what that would do to a personality, right? What that would do to a person, how they would behave. Because I think we're so used, at least in the old canon, in the old kind of canonical, superhero approach, good people are just good. They do good every time. They never make a mistake. They never falter. And The Boys, I think, is a lot more honest about how people who were able to do extraordinary things might actually behave and might actually use their powers. So I just wanted to explore that a little bit more. Right.
Did they were you given any mandates or guidelines to stay within, or things to avoid when you're writing the script?
Excitingly, there are no guidelines in Boys Universe.
Right.
I think the main guidance I got was to go harder. You know what I mean? Like, to push as hard as I could. And that was great. I mean, those guys are so wonderful to work with. Seth and Evan were intimately involved, and Eric was like, this awesome kind of cheery overlord, just really enthusiastic, really supportive. And yeah, it was a really positive, creative experience, in the sense that, like, I really didn't get my hands slapped. We just kind of, kept going until we were all excited about what happened. I mean, the main thing is, I wanted, you kind of just have a million great ideas, and you're trying to cram them into a short period of time. So that I think that was the only constraint, was, trying to make it to a certain length.
Shortly after the title card, you got one of my favorite lines in your episode. And I myself have named some of my body parts Bob Kane and Bill Finger. So I want to know, were there any other combinations besides Martin Luther King and Malcolm X that you came up with that were left on the door, or that you worked up to?
That was actually a Don Cheadle special. So I loved that. I thought it was brilliant. It was perfect. There didn't need to be an alt.
Right. Right. How could you do better than that?
You couldn't.
So did you write this with Don Cheadle in mind, or did?
No, I mean, I didn't even write it with myself in mind. I just wrote the episode. I didn't really, I just really focused on the characters. It was a relatively rapid process from start to finish. So we were just really focused on the writing. And then once we had a script that everybody was happy with, they were just like, we're starting to think about casting. And so I sent them a list of people for both characters who I thought would be interesting. And they just came back and said, hey, do you want to voice Nubian? I was like, yeah, hell yeah. And then a little while after that, I got an email that Seth had approached Don, and Don said yes, which was just a massive get for us. So exciting. And yeah, I mean, you can't lose. You can't lose with War Machine coming through. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm familiar a lot with your work as Lana Kane on Archer. So it sounds very similar, like your voice, or what I would expect something that you would write. Was this, you didn't write it for yourself, but was this your voice coming through? Was it things you've wanted to say for a while?
I think so. I mean, yeah, like I didn't write it for myself, but it was definitely my point of view. you're always trying to write something that you're excited, like the story you're excited to tell. And I think for me, like what people are really going to love about Diabolical is all the episodes are very, very different. The visual styles are different. The story, kind of the narrative styles are different. Every one of these is going to be a very different experience for people, which I think is going to be really fun. But for me, I really, like I said, I wanted to kind of like prise open that nexus between kind of, you know, the ordinary and the extraordinary, right? Like what happens after, you know, you blow up the top of a skyscraper, you know, then you got to fly home and like make macaroni and cheese for the kid, you know, like what, like how do people navigate, you know, that intersection? So yeah, it was my point of view. It was definitely, you know, I was Maya when I was a little kid. I was obsessed with comic books. I was obsessed with superheroes. I was obsessed with, you know, my dad let me cut school in 8th grade to go see Empire Strikes Back. Like she's definitely a tiny version of me. And also my parents divorced when I was a little kid. And, you know, and I think unlike a lot of, you know, kind of the maudlin, I mean, I saw Kramer versus Kramer in the theater, by the way. So like, it was definitely modeled on, you know, kind of the way that people were perceiving divorce back then. And then the way that my experience with divorce was, which is that I remember being like, well, you know, they gave it a shot. You know, I think they did their best. And I didn't have, you know, they tried, they gave it a try. I mean, you know, they were really loving parents. They were always really loving to their kids. And I didn't have that, like, you know, that devastating kind, you know, everybody's experience is different. For me, I had Maya's experience, which is like, all right, you guys gave it a shot. And now I want a birthday party. I want a pony. And I want a basket of kittens and I want a cake. So she was definitely kind of like a little cartoon version of like nerdy.
Let me ask you about one of the references in there that I didn't get. Can you explain the why the bank is named the Gypsum Bank? Is that a reference to something?
Gypsum Bank is like boys universe stuff, and I don't think that I can explain it. I think I would actually have to dig it out for you. Okay. There are definitely some like bigger boys universe references in there. Some that came from me and some that came, you know, I referenced the Young Americans in there. Like we tried to like pull other threads from the boys universe, but the Gibson thing came from Simon and Evan and Seth. And I don't think I ever asked about it. So okay, I'm just going to assume that it's and let's find out, because I actually don't know.
I'll do a little more research on that.
Oh yeah, I pick Groundhog, absolutely. Yeah. So they sent me a huge Bible of like boys universe characters. And then I also went online and did a super deep dive. Like they obviously have like material about the boys. So they sent me like a giant Bible. I got to read about all the characters. I kind of made a list of, and I went online and did a bunch of reading. I pulled all the characters that I was really excited about. And then they were like, hey, you can't have that one, can't have that one showing up in the series. So there was that kind of a conversation about what I could exploit and what I couldn't exploit, which was really fun because I got to get a little sneak peek into what's coming next. And then we all agreed that these were the characters that we could use for this episode. So that was really fun for me because I love the series, but I am not a reader of the books, so I got to go do a deep dive into Boys Universe, which was really fun. You've seen the other episodes, right? I have. Of Diabolical? No, right. I'm going to see them with everybody else on Friday. I've only seen mine. I'm super excited.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Then
I'm going to watch them all. I think I'm not quite sure if we're all going to be there, but I think it's going to be Simon and Evan and me and maybe Seth, all watching it together on Twitch on Friday.
Ooh, big watch party. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun.
So it looks like my time is about up. Let me bring this in with a superhero landing. I'd like to know, when I was a little boy, I used to have to get up early in the morning on Saturdays to beat my brother to the couch to get the good spot in front of the TV so we could watch some cartoons. But I'd have to get up earlier than that to beat my parents into the kitchen so I could pour myself a big bowl of that sugary goodness. So Aisha Tyler, I'd like to know, what was your favorite bowl of Saturday morning cereal and what cartoons did you watch?
Well, there's two answers to your question. The first one is, you and I had exactly the same experience as kids. I used to wake up at 5:30, and I'm old enough to remember when if you got up super early, it was just a test pattern on the television. So you were waiting for actual TV to come on. And also my parents are big hippies, so there was no sugary goodness in my home. They did not believe in sweet cereal. So I would enjoy occasionally a very healthy bowl of like what's those big wheat bricks? They weren't frosted.
Chex
They were
Mix,
just like, oh God, it was like, I don't even remember what they were called. They were just like these like Brillo pads.
oh, the
kind of
big
like,
one. Oh yeah, the really
the
big one.
huge ones.
Yeah.
And then later in my childhood, I graduated to kind of like the off-brand version of Cheerios that were unsweetened. And also, if we were going really ham in my house, I would have grape nuts. So that just tells you a little bit about how this kid, who like for most of my childhood was not allowed a television, so I did a lot of reading, ate a lot of whole wheat food, and that's why I'm 7 feet tall.
That explains it. Hey, thanks, Aisha. Thanks so much for your time. It's been a delight on this end of the Zoom meeting. I've got The Boys Presents Diabolical, premieres this Friday, March 4th on Prime Video. Do me a favor, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you on the other side.
You too. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks so much.